After a car accident, my eyes were severely injured. The day my vision recovered, I saw a strange number above every woman's head. My wife's was 0, my mother-in-law's was 30, and my wife's stunning best friend's was 45. What exactly does this number represent? As I investigated, I discovered a heartbreaking truth. Bang! I watched helplessly as the speeding car from the opposite direction crashed into mine, even though I had already braced myself. But the moment of impact, a deathly suffocation swept through my entire body. I barely felt any pain before I passed out. When I woke up again, I could only faintly hear a voice beside me. Good thing you arrived in time. The injured person's condition has stabilized. Another voice sounded. Doctor, thank you so much. It was my wife Phone Wan's voice. As she kept thanking the doctor, I knew I had survived the car accident. But why was everything pitch black in front of me? I couldn't see anything. I barely managed to make a faint sound, and Phone One heard it, quickly coming to my side. Honey, are you awake? I softly replied and then said, Why can't I see anything? The doctor's voice sounded again. Your eyes were severely injured in the car accident. We've done everything we could, but we can't say for sure whether they will recover in the future. We hope you're mentally prepared. I fell silent. In the days that followed, Phone Wan took care of me in the hospital every day. I would always ask her, Honey, what if my eyes really never get better? Phone Wan always comforted me, saying, What nonsense are you talking about? Honey, don't worry. You'll definitely get better. Our family's financial situation wasn't too bad, but it wasn't great either. The expensive medical bills became a heavy burden on my mind. So I asked Phone Wan, Honey, what about the driver who hit me? Phone Wan said softly, That driver fled after hitting you, and we still haven't found him. The car had fake license plates, and the police haven't found any leads yet. Phone Wan seemed to see through my thoughts. Honey, don't overthink it. Even if we never find that driver, we still have to get you treated. Don't worry too much about the money. I said nothing. During my time in the hospital, aside from both sets of our parents, the person who visited me the most was Phone Wan's best friend. Her name is Yuina. We've met a few times. Like Phone Wan, she is a stunning beauty with an impeccable figure and appearance. Probably worried that Phone Wan would feel bored staying in the hospital all day. She would come over to chat with her whenever she had free time. I secretly vowed to myself that once I recovered, I would definitely treat her to a nice meal to express my gratitude. Perhaps it was my wife's meticulous care in my eyes, which could initially only perceive a faint glimmer of light, gradually showed signs of recovery, which also restored my confidence. After 2 months of recuperation in the hospital, my eyes miraculously healed, to the point that even the doctors considered it a miracle. However, the moment I opened my eyes, the scene before me left me somewhat bewildered. I vaguely saw a blue number appear above Phone Wan's head. It was a 0. Could it be that my eyes just happened to be fine and I was seeing things? I rubbed my eyes and looked at the top of her head again. This time, I was sure I wasn't mistaken. There was indeed a 0 above Phone Wan's head. This time, the doctor and nurse also walked into the ward. There were no numbers above the doctor's head, but the female nurse also had a number above her head. It was a 5. I was stunned. Phone Wan noticed me staring blankly at the top of her head and couldn't help but look up at the ceiling herself. What's wrong? Honey, I whispered. Honey, why is there a 0 above your head? The nurse has one too, and it's a 5. Phone Wan, upon hearing this, touched her own head. No, honey, what's wrong? Is your eyesight still not adjusted after just recovering? The doctor also said to me, Your eyes were blind for a few months, and now that you can see again, it's normal to experience some visual hallucinations. Just rest at home for a few days, and you'll be fine. In the end, I had no choice but to believe the doctor's words. However, just as my wife was handling my discharge procedures, I was sitting in the hospital lobby. I noticed that among the passers-by, the men had no numbers above their heads, but all the women did. Most of them are 0. I can't believe this is an illusion. At that moment, a voice sounded. Phone 1. I looked up and saw you and I. She walked in through the hospital entrance and was waving to Phone 1, who was standing beside me. And on Uni's head, a number appeared, 45. I was stunned. Although most women had a 0 above their heads, including my wife Phone 1. Why were some numbers different? Like you, why was hers 45? You and I came over to us. After greeting Phone 1, she turned to look at me. Great writer. Congratulations on being discharged from hospital. Surviving a disaster means you're blessed with good fortune. I quickly smiled and nodded at her, saying a thank you. Phone 1 said to me, Honey, our car has been wrecked beyond recognition. I had to ask you and I to come pick us up from the hospital. I smiled but said nothing, my mind preoccupied with why numbers appeared above every woman's head. After getting into the car, Phone 1 was worried that I might have psychological trauma. So she had me sit in the back while the two of them sat in the front, chatting, but I kept staring at the numbers above their heads. After parking the car downstairs in our neighborhood and getting out, I said to you and I, Thank you, beautiful, for coming to the hospital to accompany Phone 1 all this time. If you're free another day, I'll definitely treat you to a meal. You and I smiled and said, Oh, no need to thank me. Juan is my good friend. Coming to the hospital to see you and keep her company is no big deal. I was just about to speak when, suddenly, the number above Uni's head flickered and changed from 45 to 46. I was stunned once again. What on earth is going on? I'm sure this isn't a hallucination. But what exactly do these numbers above their heads mean? The number above Phone 1's head remained unchanged at 0. Why did Uni's number change again? Before I could figure it out, Phone 1 said to you and I, Li Xiaodian is being discharged from the hospital today. My parents and his parents are all at our place, so we won't keep you here. We'll properly thank you another day. You and I, being very understanding, nodded and then looked at me. Go home and rest well. Don't let Xiaowan worry anymore. After I nodded to her, she started the car and drove away. When we arrived home, both sets of parents gathered around us, showering us with warm greetings and concern. However, my attention was fixed on the tops of my mother's and mother-in-law's heads. To my surprise, there was no number displayed above my mother's head, while above my mother-in-law's head, the number was 30. I was dumbfounded once again. This was yet another different number. I was on the verge of being driven crazy by these numbers. What on earth did they mean? But after racking my brains, I only felt a sharp pain in my eyes. In the end, I had no choice but to stop thinking about it. When I got home, everyone agreed that I should rest more and didn't let me sit for long, urging me to lie down in the bedroom. In the living room, they talked about the driver who caused the accident, saying they wanted to find him and make him pay compensation. Before I knew it, drowsiness overcame me, so I lay down and fell asleep, hoping that when I woke up the next day, those numbers would no longer appear above their heads. The next day, when I woke up, Phone 1 was already out of bed, preparing breakfast for me. I hurried to the kitchen door and looked at the top of her head. The number was still there. She noticed me behind her, turned around, and gave me a gentle smile. Honey, you're up. Breakfast will be ready soon. Seeing that she was already dressed in her professional suit, I asked, Honey, are you going out? Phone 1 said to me, Of course. I haven't been to work for the past few months taking care of you. The company has been urging me many times. If I don't go back soon, I might even lose my position as manager. Rest well at home and don't rush back to work for now. I nodded at her. Phone 1 left without having breakfast with me. I stayed in the room and felt a bit stuffy, so I went downstairs to take a walk in the neighborhood. During that time, I also met many women, all of whom were our next-door neighbors, and we usually got along well. They still had numbers above their heads, and this time, those with 0 were in the minority. For example, the little girl downstairs who is about to take the college entrance exam often comes to me for writing tips. The number above her head is 25. The auntie working at the property management office has the number 17 on her head. There is also the supermarket owner's wife, whom we often buy things from at her store. The number above her head is 38. Does this number represent a woman's loyalty or infidelity rate? But then, I immediately dismissed that thought. In the following days, I was constantly troubled by this inexplicable number. I told Phone Juan, but she brushed me off with that doctor's jargon. One day later, Phone Juan was resting at home, so we planned to invite her best friend Yu and I over for a meal as a way to thank her. After receiving Phone Juan's call, Uni did not refuse. When she knocked on the door and Phone Juan went to answer it, I was first deeply captivated by her outfit and appearance that day. Today she wore a pair of denim shorts, showing off her long, fair legs, paired with white high heels on her feet, a true treat for leg enthusiasts. Her upper body was wearing a tight white t-shirt, and the woman's curves were incredibly prominent. Among Phone Juan's circle of close friends, there was no shortage of beautiful women, but Yu and I was undoubtedly the most outstanding one. After admiring her beauty, I quickly looked at the top of her head. The number was still there, unchanged, still 46. After entering the room, she put down the fruits and milk she had bought, greeted Phone Juan, and then looked at me. "Great writer. How are you? Feeling better?" I snapped back to reality, nodded, and smiled. "Much better. Thanks for asking." She didn't say anything else and went to the kitchen to help Phone Juan with the work. Soon, the fragrant dishes were served. To celebrate my new lease on life, the two of them brought out beer, but they wouldn't let me drink any. I had just been discharged from a hospital, so naturally, I couldn't have alcohol. So, the two of them started drinking at the table, one cup after another. Phone Juan has never been a good drinker. I knew that well. Sure enough, after 2 bottles of beer, her speech began to slur, clearly showing she was already drunk. Yu and I was fine, though her pretty face was slightly flushed. After a while, Phone Juan was completely drunk and passed out on the sofa. I felt a bit helpless, so I helped her to the bedroom and laid her down on the bed. I walked into the living room, where Yu and I was sitting on the sofa. She looked at me as I came out and smiled, saying, "Sorry, Shan, I got your wife drunk again." I smiled and said, "It's okay, as long as you're happy." Yu and I also stood up at this moment. "All right, since Shawan has already gone to sleep, I won't disturb you any further, especially you. You need to get some good rest." Saying that, she walked toward the door. I quickly called out to her, "Wait a moment." Uni turned her head to look at me. "What's wrong?" I quickly picked up the clothes from the sofa and said to her, "You didn't drive here, did you?" Yu and I said, "No, I knew I'd have to have a few drinks with her today, so I didn't drive here." I walked toward her. "That's good. Don't drink and drive. Take a taxi back. You've had quite a bit to drink. I'll see you off." Just as I finished saying this, I suddenly noticed the number above Uni's head jump again, going directly from 46 to 49, an increase of 3 points. I was stunned once again by this change in numbers. Yu and I didn't know if it was because of the alcohol or something else, but her face was incredibly red. Waving his hand hurriedly, he said to me, "No need, no need. It's not far from the roadside. Shawan is drunk, but I am not." As she spoke, she turned and walked toward the door. But suddenly, she stumbled and nearly fell to the ground. "Be careful." I was quick and alert, and hurriedly steadied her, so she didn't fall. After she steadied herself, we looked into each other's eyes without speaking, and I clearly saw that the number above her head had changed again. From 49 to 52, another increase of 3 points. After we both came to our senses, I said to her, "All right, let me walk you downstairs. Don't refuse anymore." She didn't say anything else. I went downstairs with her, neither of us speaking. I kept thinking to myself, what exactly is going on with these numbers? The number above Uni's head changed for the first time when I invited her to our home, and for the second time just now when I said I would walk her downstairs. The third change just now was me helping her up. What exactly is the connection here? After thinking it over and over, I was suddenly startled by my own thought. Could it be that the number above Uni's head means her likelihood of cheating is related to me? Does she want to cheat on me? So, does the zero above my wife's head mean she is absolutely loyal to me? It seems like there's a glimmer of hope, so I decided to give it another try. The taxi pulled up beside us. By then, it was already dark outside, and it looked like it might rain. You and I was lightly dressed, and on top of that, she had been drinking. She crossed her arms, hugging herself, looking a bit cold. She turned her head and looked at me. Xiao Tian, you should head back now. I'll be going first. I made a bold decision and said to her, how about I walk you back? I'm a bit worried about you going back alone. You and I was stunned. I quickly glanced at the number above her head. Sure enough, it had gone up by 3 points. After snapping out of it, she quickly refused. It's fine. It's fine. It's not that far. No worries. Before she could refuse again, I had already opened the car door. Come on, let's go. It's not like I have anything to do anyway. I've been cooped up at home these past few days, so it's nice to get out for a walk. Uni didn't say anything more and simply got into the car. As the car sped around a curve, you and I unconsciously leaned toward me. When her arm touched mine, I immediately felt that her body was unusually cold. I quickly took off my jacket and handed it to her. Put this on. It's cold outside. Be careful not to catch a chill. Uni wanted to refuse, but I had already draped my coat over her. Uni blushed as she looked at me, and the number above her head continued to rise. At that moment, I was completely certain Uni really does have feelings for me. After sending Uni home, I immediately asked the driver to turn around and head back. As I reached the entrance of the residential complex, I happened to run into a neighbor from the floor above, a woman. Her husband is often away, and she lives with her child on the floor above us. Many times, her child would make a lot of noise, causing Feng Wan and me to have sleepless nights. Eventually, Feng Wan couldn't take it anymore and went upstairs to confront her. In the end, they had a big argument. It wasn't until the property management stepped in to mediate that the matter was settled. So now, whenever we see each other, it's almost like we're enemies. She saw me and gave me a hard stare, but my attention was on the top of her head. The number above her head, however, was -5. This was the first time I had seen a negative number, and it completely overturned my previous speculation. If it were a probability of infidelity, how could there be a negative number? Absolutely no infidelity would be 0. A negative number simply doesn't make sense. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration struck me. Could this number be affection level? This woman had a conflict with my family, so she naturally has no affection for me, perhaps even disgust. That would perfectly explain the negative number. In other words, the numbers above these women's heads represent their level of affection toward me. That female nurse often came to our ward for rounds and exchanged a few words with me. I never provoked her, so it's a 5. The older sister at the convenience store downstairs, we often buy things from her place, and she treats us like cash cows. It's normal for her to have some goodwill toward me. Mom is family, so naturally, her favorability isn't displayed. So, what's the deal with Feng Wan toward me? Her favorability toward me is 0? She doesn't love me at all. I was startled by this thought in my own mind. I have been married to Feng Wan for 4 years, and although it took me 4 years to win her over, our relationship as a couple has always been very good. Even this time, when I was nearly blind, Feng Wan still took care of me in the hospital for several months with great devotion. How could she not love me? Back at home, Feng Wan had already woken up. She got out of bed to drink some water. When I entered the house, she asked, "Where did you go? Where's Uni?" I was about to make up a lie, saying I had seen Uni off to catch a cab downstairs to avoid unnecessary suspicion. But as I looked at the 0 above Feng Wan's head, I ultimately chose to see if the number above her head would change, even if it meant she would suspect me or be dissatisfied with me. So I said to her, "Your bestie just drank a lot too." I was worried something might happen to her if she went back alone. So I took her home. After saying that, I immediately stared at the number above her head. Suddenly, the zero above her head turned into -1. I was stunned. Phone Juan just let out a soft "oh" and turned back to the bedroom. While I stared blankly at the -1 above her head, this number meant Phone Juan truly didn't love me. All night, I sat in the living room, wide awake, with the scene of the number above Phone Juan's head changing, echoing in my mind. It wasn't until the next morning when Phone Juan got up for work that I numbly lifted my head to look at the number above her, still -1. She frowned and asked me, "What's wrong with you? Why aren't you sleeping?" I forced a smile and said to her, "I can't sleep." She didn't say much more and went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast on her own. After breakfast, she went to work at the company. I sat on the sofa all day, pondering why the number above Phone Juan's head was -1. I tried to convince myself with the doctor's explanation, but I just couldn't. In the end, I decided that no matter what, I had to find out whether Phone Juan truly loved me or not. So, I began secretly following her. At first, I didn't notice anything unusual. Phone Juan went to the company as usual every day and came home alone after work. Occasionally, I would go sit with you and I for a while. Everything seemed too normal. But that only made me feel uneasy. Phone One usually loved going shopping, and the things she bought were always very expensive. During this time, she hardly went shopping at all, which really surprised me. Could it be that all the money was spent on the hospital during my stay? That can't be. Although I had a brush with death, the national policies are very good now. Even if I spend 100,000, at least half of it can be reimbursed. I still have 50,000 in savings. However, just as I was about to give up following her, I eventually witnessed a heartbreaking scene. That day, I was waiting for Phone Juan downstairs at her company. I had already decided that if I couldn't find any results today, I would stop investigating and just treat it as my own hallucination. I've always believed that Phone Juan loves me. Phone Juan hadn't come out yet, so she made a phone call to me first. "Honey, I have a business dinner at the company today, so I won't be home for dinner. You can eat at home by yourself." Logically, business dinners are quite common. But before I could even say anything, Phone Juan had already hung up the phone. I decided to wait and see. Soon, Phone Juan's figure appeared at the entrance of her company. After stepping out, she glanced around several times. I quickly hid, afraid that she might see me. Seeing nothing unusual, she immediately lowered her head and walked toward the roadside. Then, she got into a black car. And I happened to see that black car too. It belonged to the boss of her company. Just when Phone Juan called me, I saw her boss walk out of the building and get into that car. At that moment, my heart was churning, and my head was burning. Could it be that Phone Juan really betrayed me? After much deliberation, I still chose to follow and see for myself. So I immediately hailed a taxi and followed. Their car was not driving fast and eventually stopped at the entrance of a park, where there were many people. After I got out of the car, I followed them. They looked cautious, occasionally glancing back at their surroundings. It was exactly this guilty demeanor that made my heart ache repeatedly. They arrived at the lake in the park, where no one was around. After they sat down on a bench, I quickly hid behind a large tree nearby. I could hear their conversation clearly. At that moment, a scene that nearly made me stumble appeared. Phone Juan's boss looked around, making sure no one was around, then reached out and put his arm around her waist. "Baby, I've missed you so much. These past few days, we haven't dared to do anything. It's so frustrating to only look but not touch." Phone Juan quickly pushed his hand away. "What are you doing? There are people coming and going. Keep a low profile." But her boss didn't listen at all and still pressed closer. After refusing a few times, Phone Juan simply stopped resisting and let her boss hold her. At that moment, I wanted to rush out and kill that pair of adulterers. Phone Juan had betrayed me after all. In the end, I held myself back. Going to jail for a woman like her just wasn't worth it. With trembling hands, I took out my phone, opened the video recording, and captured every move they made, even their conversation, all on tape. That kid sure has a tough life. I spent 200 grand and even hired someone to run him over. But who would have thought he'd actually survive? Hearing this, my blood boiled. So this car accident had been premeditated all along. Fongwan's head rested against her boss. He's not dead yet, but I've been dying inside all this time. Every day at home, I have to put on a facade of a virtuous wife and mother, just worry that she might notice something. Her boss continued. So, if we hadn't lost tens of millions in gambling, we wouldn't have to resort to insurance fraud. You could have just divorced him directly. If we manage to kill that guy this time, at least we can get a few million back to recover our losses. So, they hired someone to run me over just to commit insurance fraud. I laughed. If I hadn't discovered it sooner, there would probably be another scheme waiting for me. Finally, Fongwan asked, "How's that person? Did he go abroad?" I knew they were talking about the driver who hit me. Why go abroad? That kid isn't dead yet. The police can't track his whereabouts. And after a while, they'll stop pursuing it. It's fine. I've arranged for him to stay in the Osmanthus community and told him to keep a low profile and not go out much. After their conversation, the two shamelessly started cuddling and kissing on the bench. I thoroughly photographed both of their appearances before sneaking away. I don't even remember how I made it back home. After finally calming down, since Fongwan betrayed me and even tried to kill me, I can't be blamed for what comes next. I frantically searched the house and eventually found the insurance policy she had secretly bought for me, hidden deep inside a box. After taking photos, I put it back in its original place. Then, I contacted the police and obtained the surveillance footage from the time of my car accident. In the surveillance footage, although I couldn't clearly see the person's face, I could still make out their general outline. Over the next few days, whenever I had free time, I would go to Osmanthus community to stake out the place. Persistence pays off. After several days, I saw a man come downstairs to buy some things at the convenience store, and he looked very similar to the man in the video. So I secretly followed him, and after confirming where he lived, I immediately contacted the police. The police also took it very seriously and immediately sent officers over. I followed the police, and after tricking the man into opening his door, the officers quickly subdued him. The police questioned him about the details, but the man refused to say a word. In the end, the police began searching his home, found 2 removed license plates, and then started going through his phone. At that moment, the man became visibly nervous. As expected, the police found chat records and transfer records between him and Fongwan's boss in his phone. Of course, it wasn't 200,000, just the money for renting a place and living in hiding. The man couldn't defend himself and eventually confessed the truth. At the same time, I handed over the video and the insurance policy to the police. The police acted swiftly and arrested Fongwan and her boss. When I stood at the entrance of the residential community, watching Fongwan being escorted out by 2 female police officers, she looked at me, and tears instantly streamed down her face as she pleaded with me bitterly. "Honey, I'm sorry. I was just confused for a moment and did something to wrong you. I love you. Please believe me. For the sake of our years of marriage, please forgive me." I knew that if I forgave her and signed the leniency agreement, Fongwan would receive a lighter punishment. But when I looked up at the number above her head, it had changed again, from -1 to -23. Is this how she loves me? She probably wishes I were dead 1,000 times over by now. I said nothing, just silently watched as she was led away by the police. In the days that followed, I stayed at home. My parents came by a few times, and so did Fongwan's parents. But they were reasonable enough after learning the truth. They were all deeply disappointed in Fongwan, although I don't know if they were sincere. Seeing that the number above my mother-in-law's head was still 30 meant she didn't hate me. In the end, with tears in their eyes, I still signed the letter of forgiveness for the sake of our marriage, hoping that Fongwan would truly repent. My marriage with Feng Wan could no longer continue. In the end, I sold the house and planned to leave this city to live elsewhere. After all, there were too many painful memories here for me. The only person I still miss a little is my ex-wife's best friend, Yuana, who had a good impression of me. I decided to say a proper goodbye to her before leaving. After all, we had crossed paths. When I contacted her, she was shocked. She said to me, "I thought that after what Feng Wan did to you, and since I'm her best friend, you wouldn't want to talk to me anymore." I smiled and said, "How could that be? She is who she is, and you are who you are. You didn't know about the things she did. How about we grab a drink?" Uni agreed. After we met, we found a cafe and sat down. I noticed the number above her head had changed to 74, perhaps out of sympathy for me. She was very curious about what had happened, so I told her everything one by one. Uni was a bit angry too. That show, really, her own husband is such a good person, yet she still pulls something like this. If it were me. We looked at each other, and she realized her words sounded a bit ambiguous. So she quickly lowered her head to drink her coffee. "What are your plans from now on?" I didn't hide anything from her. "I've decided to leave this heartbroken city tomorrow. So today I came to say goodbye to you. After all, in this city, you're the only person I know." Uni's movements froze, and she didn't look up. "What time are you leaving?" "The flight is at 8 in the morning." She fell silent. After finishing our drinks, I walked her back. When she turned around reluctantly, waving goodbye to me, I saw the number above her head had changed back to 81. Does that mean Yuni's affection for me has reached 81? So if I confess to her right now, there would be an 81% chance of success, but I didn't do that. I had just been heartbroken by Feng Wan and really didn't want to jump into another relationship right away. The next morning, I woke up at the hotel and took a taxi to the airport. However, at the entrance of the hall, I saw a familiar figure, Yuni. She also saw me, smiled excitedly, and waved at me. "Li Shang, good morning. Where are you going? Can you take me with you? I want to go out for a walk with you." Looking at the suitcase beside her and the number 100 above her head, in the end, she still broke through my last line of defense. I slowly walked toward her and pulled her into my arms. Perhaps I have already found someone who likes me 100%.